Shalom, King of Kings family. Pastor Chad here, wanting to bring you an encouragement for the day with this devotional. You know, we've been in a special season of holidays. We've come through our Passover Seder meal. We've focused on unleavened bread and what the Lord was doing with the sin in our life. We've looked at the Feast of First Fruits and the resurrection of Yeshua, our Messiah. And now we also find that there are other commandments leading us to the next holiday of the Feast of Weeks, or Shavuot. One of those commands is to count 50 days. We call it counting the Omer. And in this 50-day counting, there are some patterns in the scriptures that I think we can draw out. I want to read you a few scriptures this morning from Luke chapter 24. And in this passage, it is right after the resurrection, and it's during the period of time where we would have been counting the 50 days. In Luke 24, verse 6 through 8, it says this: When the women went to the tomb, they were looking for Yeshua. It says, "He is not here, but he is risen. Now remember how he told you while he was still with you in the Galilee, that the Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners. He must be crucified and on the third day be raised again." And then they remembered his words. You see, Yeshua had already told them his plans. He had already told them what he was about to do with his death and with his resurrection. But the revelation didn't quite come until the counting of the Omer season, and then this new revelation came. Later in the same chapter, Luke 24, we have another event with two of the disciples who are walking along the road, and Yeshua comes up beside of them, and they begin to talk. They begin to talk about all of the events. They talked about the prophetic books. They talked about the news of the day, that Yeshua died and now he's not in the tomb. They even mentioned the empty tomb. They mentioned angels and seeing angels and speaking to angels. They mentioned the disciples going into the tomb and that it was empty. And in verse 25 of chapter 24 of Luke, Yeshua even comments that even though they've been talking together, how slow they are. It says, Yeshua said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken." He continued to discuss all of the scriptures with them, and then even blessed the bread when they sat down to eat the meal. In verse 30 and 31, it says this: "And when Yeshua was at the table with them, he took the bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight." You see, they didn't even recognize him walking, talking, speaking about the death, looking at the empty tomb, talking about angels, looking at the scriptures. They were staring at the Messiah, and they didn't realize it until he prayed the prayer of blessing over that bread. Something similar they might have heard just a few days before at the last Passover meal with him. And it says, then their eyes were open and they realized who it was. Friends, I pray over all of us that during this counting of the Omer season, as we look from the end of the first fruits resurrection to the Feast of Weeks coming up, that we all get new revelation of the Lord. I pray that we have new revelation of his word, and even the things that have been right in front of us would now open up by the power of the Holy Spirit. Take this word with you. Have a great day in the Lord.